Okay, opposition leaders, welcome. As we look towards 2027, it's pretty clear that challenging the ruling APC effectively means we need some fresh approaches.
Definitely. Business as usual might not cut it.
Exactly. And we've got this really interesting consultative document here. It focuses hard on one specific area, how the opposition actually picks and presents its candidates.
Right. Which sounds straightforward, but the document argues it's often where things fall short.
So that's what this deep dive is all about, really unpacking this proposal for, well, a pretty novel way of doing things.
And the core argument here is quite bold. It basically says that the usual ways Nigerian parties nominate candidates haven't always given us the most capable leaders.
Yeah, it points back to 1999, suggesting that while elections happened, the winners weren't necessarily the best people for the job.
The document argues that voters often have, let's say, limited real information about candidates. They know the face, maybe the party, but not the substance.
hmm How much do we really know beyond the campaign noise? And the document connects this directly to a cycle of governance that maybe doesn't improve as much as people hope. It uses the term substandard operators.
Which is a strong term, but it highlights the frustration. And that's the challenge for you, the opposition, isn't it? If an old playbook isn't working, what's the alternative?
And this document offers something quite different. It says relying only on the internal party machinery. That's not enough anymore if you genuinely want to win and govern well.
So the proposal is an independent rating system?
Essentially, yes, an independent multi-stakeholder system to really evaluate potential candidates rigorously.
And it sounds like it's aiming for more than just winning in 2027. It's about maybe changing how voters think.
Exactly. Trying to shift the focus towards, competence and track record, providing really thorough assessments,
Yeah.
moving beyond just the usual campaign rhetoric.
Okay, so let's get into this proposed rating framework. The starting point is a critique of how things are now.
Right. He says candidates are often generally unknown to the electorate. And that lack of deep public knowledge, it argues, opens the door for people who might not be the best fit.
Which contributes to that cycle of disappointment we mentioned. For opposition leaders trying to build trust, that critique probably hits home, right?
Absolutely. It links candidate selection directly to governance quality. If the selection isn't robust, the argument goes, you risk presenting candidates who can't really deliver.
Undermining the whole effort to be seen as a credible alternative.
Okay, so what's the alternative they're actually proposing? This order of mean score idea. How would that work?
So the idea is to set up a formal platform. Think of it like a structured process.
Not just backroom deals.
Exactly. Bringing together a real mix of people, professionals, academics, bureaucrats, even politicians from different ideological backgrounds.
Okay.
And their job to assess and rate candidates in some kind of interactive session based on clear criteria. The result is this order of mean score, a rank list based on their collective judgment.
So it's deliberately pulling the assessment out of just the party structures.
That seems to be the key, to get a broader, maybe more objective view.
And the main goal of this whole scheme, what are they trying to achieve?
The document puts it quite clearly. Assist change orientation of our electorate towards elections and influence enlightened options and choices at the polls.
So helping voters make smarter choices, basically.
Yeah. Moving beyond just name recognition or, slogans. Using empirical levers, as they call it, to give voters real substance to consider before the election.
So it's not just about the opposition getting its house in order. It's about fundamentally trying to improve how Nigerians choose leaders overall.
That's the bigger picture, yes. The desired end result is electing credible, trustworthy, and capable parties and persons, leading to better governance, superior leadership skills. It's ambitious.
It certainly is. Okay, let's dive into the methodology. It seems to have two parts, starting with online readings. Who gets involved there?
Right. Phase one is digital. They want input from a really wide range of informed people. Think academics who study politics and elections, professionals from various fields, experienced civil servants, industrialists, politicians too.
A broad church.
Very broad. And crucially, they want both party-affiliated people and nonpartisans involved to get that balance.
How do they ensure that balance, especially across the country?
Well, they suggest setting up 6 expert panels, one for each geopolitical zone. These panels, made up of scholars, professionals, senior bureaucrats, would help identify credible people to participate from their regions. Kind of like quality control.
Okay, makes sense. And how did the actual online ratings work? What are people looking at?
Participants get detailed info on each candidate. Then they rate them on a 5-point scale: most preferred, preferred average, disliked, most disliked.
And they have to say why.
Yes, justifications are required. And the criteria are key: character, background, experience, past successes, failures. Not just campaign promises or policy papers. It's meant to be a deeper look at the individual.
Right, more holistic. Okay, that's the online part. What's phase 2?
Phase 2 is physical scoring. Town hall sessions across all 36 states plus the FCT.
Why the town halls?
The idea is to reach people who might not be online as much, get a broader demographic involved. It uses the same kinds of stakeholder groups as the online phase, but it's a public forum.
And it builds on the online results.
Exactly. It's a chance to publicly analyze the candidates, informed by those initial national ratings. It combines that digital reach with face-to-face engagement.
So, trying to get the best of both worlds, digital and physical, for a really thorough assessment.
That seems to be the goal: triangulating perspectives, getting a more robust picture.
Okay. The document also lists specific things these stakeholders should be evaluating. What are those key assessment areas?
It's quite detailed. First, character traits. Second, major strengths and weaknesses. Third, what might influence their actions, thinking about Nigeria's different value systems. Fourth, background experience, intellectual capacity, track record successes and failures. Fifth, their likely approach to things like social welfare, tax, revenue.
Practical policy directions.
Yes. And finally, how they might respond to different kinds of pressure: religious, ethnic, political, international, peer groups, gender, you name it. It's a really comprehensive framework.
It definitely goes way beyond just the usual campaign talking points. Then there's this rating event. Sounds like a big deal in this process.
It does. It's positioned as a formal event, different from a rally. The idea is that the collective opinion of these enlightened stakeholders sends a really strong message to the public about who is credible.
Almost like a public vetting by a respected group. What would the event actually look like?
They suggest a program, maybe 3-4 hours. National anthem, prayers, welcome, purpose of the event, remarks from key figures, then the core part: presenting the assessment results and justification.
So people hear the ratings and why.
Exactly. Followed by Q&A with the audience, maybe a meal, and then a press conference.
What about the feel of the event, the logistics? They seem specific about that too.
Very specific. Visually, they suggest combining party and candidate branding with lots of handheld flags. Access would be strictly controlled based on present invitations.
Managed entry.
Right. And zoned seating, putting people from similar backgrounds together, apparently to make them comfortable. Dinner-style seating for the main participants, concert-style for a larger general audience area.
Interesting distinction. And how is the actual rating feedback captured at the event?
Each participant gets a rating slip when they arrive. They fill it out with feedback and their details. Then reporters collect these slips, read out some comments to spark discussion.
Real-time feedback loops.
Seems like it.
Good.
The event would end by announcing the top-rated candidates, followed by that press conference.
It sounds very structured, very deliberate, a world away from a typical rally. Now, Annex A in this document lists preferred attendees. It's quite a list. Let's break it down, starting with political leaders.
Yeah, it's extensive. They're talking about tapping into decades of experience. Former leaders from Go On all the way to Jonathan, both military and civilian eras.
Wow.
Plus former governors, senators, reps, speakers, and top judiciary figures too: former chief justices, Supreme Court justices, state chief judges, grand qadis. The idea seems to be capturing deep institutional memory.
A huge pool of experience. What about military and paramilitary leaders?
That includes former service chiefs, Army, Navy, Air Force, former IGPs, heads of other agencies like Customs, Immigration, prisons, also federal permanent secretaries, retired senior officers, colonel equivalent and up, former police commissioners, heads of parastatals, even former directors in the civil service.
So bringing in security, law enforcement, and bureaucratic perspectives.
Exactly, covering national security and the machinery of government.
Makes sense. Then intellectual leaders.
This focuses on academic and thought leadership. Notable professors, PhDs, leaders from ASU and the NUT, former VCs, rectors, deans.
The education sector.
Yes. And critically, it also includes prominent newspaper editors, columnists, publishers, recognizing the media's role.
Absolutely vital. What about religious leaders and traditional rulers?
Given their influence in Nigeria, the document suggests including notable Islamic and Christian leaders and key traditional rulers. tapping into those community networks and moral authority.
Okay, covering major societal pillars there. The next category, civil society and professional organizations, looks incredibly broad.
It really is. It's like they tried to include almost every significant group, progressive elements from ethnic groups, youth movements like NANNs, NYC, human rights, and pro-democracy groups, TMG, ACE, CLO, lots of acronyms
A
there.
lot of established CSOs.
Yes. Plus international groups like MacArthur Foundation, ActionAid, OSIFA, labor unions like the NLC, professional bodies, economists, lawyers, doctors, engineers.
The professions are well represented.
Definitely. Media groups like the NUJ, Guild of Editors, educational associations, women's coalitions, WIN, NCWS, FOM1, business and agriculture reps, cultural groups, even progressives within existing parties. It's almost like creating a national focus group.
It's incredibly comprehensive, a real attempt at a wisdom council approach. And finally, democratic organizations and political associations.
This group targets organizations specifically focused on democracy building, good governance, political awareness, peace efforts, youth, and women in politics. Again, a long list showing the depth of work happening in that sector.
Okay, so pulling this all together, this document essentially gives opposition parties a detailed roadmap, a way to proactively vet candidates using this broad multi-stakeholder rating process.
Precisely. It's suggesting a shift away from maybe closed-door selections towards something more transparent, more inclusive, and arguably more credibility-focused, engaging a huge cross-section of Nigerian society.
And for you, the opposition leaders listening, the potential payoff here is pretty clear. It's not just about finding electable candidates, but about finding and showcasing leaders who are demonstrably capable and trustworthy.
Right. Adopting something like this could be a powerful way to build public trust, show a real commitment to quality leadership, and, well, significantly boost your chances in 2027 by offering something clearly different.
It presents a real contrast to maybe politics as usual.
Which leads us to the final thought for you to consider. Looking at this detailed framework, this huge network of potential contributors, how could your coalition realistically use such an approach?
What practical steps could you take, perhaps starting now, to implement a similar kind of credibility-focused selection process? One that truly sets you apart and offers Nigerians a compelling vision for the future. Something to really think about.